It is Norway. There's a serial killer on the loose. When the snow falls, it activates this serial killer. Sometimes the snowman is built prior to a killing or post a killing. We have Harry Hull, the incredible detective, who is thrown into this case. Sadly enough, at this moment, he's a drunken detective. And Katrina Bratt, my character, comes in, joins the team with her own motive and agenda. Right. She just transferred from Bergen to Oslo. Okay. We don't really know how this transfer happened, but it kind of gradually in the story it reveals itself. This young, naive, happy, determined young detective has a more sinister story. Right. Yeah, I did. I've read Jo Nesbø, and I love his stories. I hadn't read The Snowman, and funnily enough, before I was offered this role, I had just finished reading The Headhunters, which is an incredible. I know he wrote it years ago, and I know they made a film out of it, but it's such a good book. I think there's something about his way of milieu description. He's very good at creating a character out of his surroundings. I love the sort of the rawness and the despair. And there's always a tinge of sexuality, but also the kind of the breakdown of people's sexuality. Things aren't simple. We don't just have one emotion. Everything's quite difficult and complex. Jo seems to be kind of a complex person. I think it comes through in his writing. No, we did not know each other. I knew of Thomas, and I really wanted to work with him. I wanted to work with him due to the films that he had done, and I fell madly in love with his way of shooting the Let the Right One In. It was new, and it was vibrant, and it was so goddamn good. Yeah. And I thought, I want to see what he can do with me. How can he challenge me? He can create something so spectacular out of a scene that looks so bland and boring on paper. It could look like Katrina walks in a corridor, and there is so much more history, and there's so much more subtlety behind everything in his directions. And also, he's very, I don't know if he says it himself, but musicality. There's musicality in his direction, and in the colours, and in the linears. I mean, he can have things completely horizontal, and then he needs something very sort of ajar just to cut the frame. He's kind of he's a master. He's like a puppeteer, sort of just makes things work. Yes, but you know what? Not for us. We're actors. I mean, I would never complain. We have trailers and people taking care of us, and hot boots and water bottles and hats and scarves. Challenging for the people getting the cameras up onto the mountains, and the gaffers and the grippers and there's so many people involved in this. If I'm cold, I'll raise my finger and I'll get a finger cushion.